I just want to share a little bit of interesting challenge with emotions. When we are in times where we have a lot of feelings, there's good news and bad news. The bad news is we feel a lot of feelings at one time. And the good news is we feel a lot of feelings at one time. The problem is that when we are having a challenging situation and we have big feelings and they get all mixed up, it makes it quite difficult for us to figure out like, what's really going on. And so that's the bad news. It gets very confusing. And sometimes all we can seem to focus on is the big feelings that are at the forefront or at the surface. And there's all this other stuff kind of going on in the background that's actually really important and really rich. So the good news part of that is that's part of how we navigate emotions. It's part of how we're able to shift because we have lots of different feelings. But it's not necessarily easy to sort that out. So I wanted to show you this really powerful thing. We have an app, an iPhone app for this as well. And you can do it without the app or the cards. You can just make your own. And I'm going to just give you a couple of my favorites. Annabelle Jensen, the president of 6 Seconds, says that we really learn by thinking about questions and through stories. And so what we did when we created these cards is we developed questions for each of the emotional intelligence competencies. And I'm actually just going to focus on one competency right now, which is the competency that we call enhancing emotional literacy. And we used these birds to kind of symbolize that idea of like the colorful plumage symbolizes the idea of the complexity and multiplicity of feelings. And, again, that's beautiful, but it's a little complex. So as you think about this first question, what happened and what happened before that and after that, one of the ways that we can tap into understanding the multiple feelings that we have is to recognize that our feelings are arising continuously, and perhaps we're creating them on the fly as we need them, as we're perceiving what's happening inside us and around us. And so emotions are automatically created based on what's going on inside and around us and what we're perceiving. And they're flowing back and forth between our brains and our bodies, and they're flowing between us. And there's this almost instantaneous communication that's happening. And it's saying, look, pay attention to this, pay attention to this, pay attention to this. So one way to kind of start sorting that out is to start kind of thinking about that timeline. Whoops. And, and going not just with this one moment. Okay, let me rewind a little bit. Let me rewind a little bit. Let me rewind a little bit. And because these feelings, these chemical reactions are causing a cascade, is what neuroscientists call it. And a little bit of this chemical triggers different cells, produces more, produces more, produces more. And then we have these chemicals running around in our bodies. We have some running around here and some running around there. And that's the kind of neurological basis of how they work and part of why it's confusing. Okay, so that's the one card I want to share with you. Another card that I want to share is actually one of my very favorites, which is, again, I think sometimes we have a feeling on the surface, and can we learn to kind of look at what else might be going on? And we sometimes use the metaphor of an iceberg and thinking about what's visible, what's clear is above the waterline, and then kind of deeper and deeper and deeper, what's underneath. Now, I'm just going to read you some of the questions on the back of this one. Where is the source of this issue and your feeling? Is it external or internal? A lot of times we're focused on something outside ourselves. Sometimes we're focused on something inside ourselves. For me, right now, I look around the world and I have lots of big feelings. I go on Twitter and I have lots of big feelings. But if I just kind of go internally, like if I look over there at the orchid that's blooming, if I look behind me at this sustainable development goals embroidery that one of my kids made, if I get into this kind of immediate sphere, and maybe even this immediate sphere, my feelings change. And it's not that the feelings about the outside world are wrong or bad or that I shouldn't have them, but this question of where is the source of this feeling? What am I noticing that's triggering this or reinforcing this? Are you being triggered by anything or anyone? And then we can start to learn about our feelings by thinking about the past. Has this happened before? Have you had a feeling like this before? And if you had, when did it happen and how did it happen? So as we start to kind of grow our awareness of our own feelings over time and through our experiences, I'm just going to share one more of these cards with you for right now. There's a book, one of our advisory board members is Peter Salovey, and he's the co-author of a book called The Wisdom of Feelings. And I think the notion, what if our feelings are wisdom? They're messages from us to us. And every feeling, whether we like it or not, whether it's comfortable or not, it's a message, it's a perspective, it's a question. What is the wisdom behind your current feeling? And on the back of this card, emotions are signals to help us. How is this feeling trying to help or protect you? There's no good and bad emotions. They all serve a purpose. So, as you're working on understanding your mixed up feelings and trying to sort them out, what I hope you will do is remember to look beneath the surface, look at feelings over time and what you can learn. And for each feeling, consider that it's teaching you something. All right, well, we'll be going live again later this week, and we have tons of great classes happening. And so thank you for joining today. And I look forward to seeing you at our next live stream here very soon. And by the way, do us a big favor and subscribe. Talk to you soon.